eyewitness swears that you did it. Then, despite all your protests of innocence, you are arrested, then convicted, and sent away to prison. It can happen. And tonight, you'll hear the story of 3 cases of 3 men convicted of 3 different crimes on the testimony of one incredible witness, the liar, named Dana Garner.
Well, basically, it's a proven factor that it was all a lie.
You've lied, just straight out lied, in 3 felony cases.
Yes.
1 kidnapping, 2 murders. You knew that you were lying.
Yes.
What am I dealing with here?
I would just say somebody at that age who was terrified didn't know which way to go.
By the time Dana Garner's web of lies was untangled, 3 men would be in prison and much of their lives ruined. But to understand how all this began, you have to go back to when Garner was a teenager and one fateful afternoon on the streets of Brooklyn. Dana Garner said he was in this neighborhood in the early afternoon when he witnessed a man firing an Uzi into a passing car and murdering 2 people. Based solely on Garner's testimony, that man was sentenced to 36 years to life.
If Dana wouldn't have came and told him I did it, I wouldn't be here.
Jeffrey Blake was a teenager when Garner identified him as the murderer in 1990.
I'm in jail for a crime I didn't commit.
Criminal lawyer Howard Kirsch represented Blake at trial.
The only case I ever tried where I thought that, even though we got convicted, that this man was innocent.
He found Garner unbeatable.
He didn't fight with the lawyers. In fact, at times, as I recall, he'd be almost apologetic that he had to put this guy into this situation, but he was there, you know, I'm sorry, I'm there, I have to do this, I saw you do it. I mean, that's it.
Dana Garner knew Jeffrey Blake.
We grew up together.
You lied against a friend of yours?
Yes.
And it turns out Garner and Blake were not the only 2 who knew Garner was a liar.
We have fought in every climate and place where we could take a gun.
He told more lies than he did the truth.
Otis Gary is a Marine sergeant and Garner's first cousin.
Everyone in our family pretty much knew where Dana stood as far as telling the truth.
He was also a close friend of Jeffrey Blake and his family.
If Dana was involved in anything and saying anything to get this man incarcerated, that they needed to know about Dana.
On the day Garner said he saw the murder in Brooklyn, Gary knew Garner was in North Carolina. The sergeant went to the trial to help Blake and confronted his cousin.
I asked Dana in front of the district attorney and in front of Mr. Blake's lawyers, basically asked him, why were you doing this? Why would you make up a story like this? And he kept insisting that he was telling the truth. He was telling the truth. And I looked at him and I said, well, you were not in New York City at the time. How could you say that this is the truth?
Garner says he considered taking back his lie, but was scared of being punished if he changed his story. In the end, the jury believed the lies from Garner and not the truth from Sergeant Otis Gary.
The system totally failed. No one could believe it.
And for years, nobody listened or cared. Prison walls could have forever hidden Blake and the truth, were it not for Michelle Fox.
This is just the worst thing I had ever seen.
Fox is a lawyer with New York City's Legal Aid Society. She's reviewed hundreds of cases where convicts claiming innocence really are not. But Blake truly struck her as not guilty.
It just didn't seem to make any sense.
Well, tell me about it. You found yourself saying, how could these people have done this?
How could they have believed him? They just wanted to solve cases, and I don't think they did very much investigating either in the police department or in the DA's office.
As for Garner, he felt guilty enough to confess his lies to lawyer Fox in 1993. But then he had second thoughts when he had to repeat the confession in court during Blake's appeal.
I pled the Fifth. I pled the Fifth Amendment.
Why didn't you just sit there and look him in the eye and say, look, I lied, this guy's innocent, you ought to let him out of prison?
My lawyer advised me, you will go. You will trade places with him if you get up there and change it now.
So Jeffrey Blake, already in prison for 2 years, stayed behind bars.
I would wake up at 3 a.m. thinking, he's still in jail. I know he didn't do it. He's got 36 years before he's eligible for parole, and I've got to get him out somehow.
She kept digging and discovered that Garner had told police a former girlfriend was with him when he saw Blake commit the murders. Fox's investigator found the girlfriend in North Carolina. Her name is Margaret Allen.
And I don't know nothing about no murder. If I'd have seen it, I'd have been devastated. Because if he'd have seen one, he would too.
Now with Allen as a witness, Fox again convinced Garner to confess. And this time, he didn't back out. In 1998, after more than 8 years behind bars, Jeffrey Blake went free.
You gotta be happy, Mr. Blake.
Yeah, I am happy.
Now Garner's lies started to quickly unwind, and they led back to the first man he falsely accused. Garner, then a teenager, had told the truth about one thing. In this case, he was a crime victim. Dana Garner was kidnapped, tied up in a nearby apartment, and beaten for 2 days. After he managed to escape and in the company of police, Garner said he saw one of his captors coming out of this store.
Why is he pointing me out when I know I didn't have nothing to do with it? And I felt that he knew that I didn't have nothing to do with it.
Tim Crosby was 27 years old, the father of 2 children.
Did it enter your mind at any time somebody's going to swoop in and save me from all this?
I was hoping that. I didn't know who it would be or whether or not it would happen at all.
It would happen because working next door to Michelle Fox was Sarah Bennett. She took up Crosby's case after hearing all about Garner.
I knew he had been convicted on the word of Dana Garner, and I figured he was going to languish if somebody didn't come and get him.
After spending more than 11 and a half years in prison, Crosby went free last December.
You used to think that people were innocent until proven guilty.
Yes.
But you don't believe that anymore.
I don't believe that no more.
Ruben Ortega doesn't believe that either. He's the third man that Garner now admits he lied about.
The murder that I was charged for, I didn't do it. Period, point blank, I didn't do it at all.
In 1990, in the same week, Garner lied about seeing Blake commit the murder. He lied about seeing Ortega kill one person and wound 2 others. Ortega was sentenced to 30 years to life. His case has troublesome complications. Ortega was an unindicted suspect in another murder, and one of the shooting survivors who initially said he could not identify the gunman now says it was Ortega. So despite Garner now saying he lied, Ortega remains locked up.
It's frustrating. It's just knowing the fact that you're innocent. A lot of people could say, yeah, well, we heard this story a million times, but it's actually true.
The third legal aid lawyer to get involved, Steve Wasserman, is trying to get a new trial.
I'm in the middle of a fight right now. I'm fighting for his life. As far as I'm concerned, one day he's going to be free.
Today, it's hard to understand how Garner was believed. Back then, it was easy.
It was one of the most drug-infested neighborhoods of the area.
Michael Race, now a private investigator, was a veteran New York City detective sergeant, as well as one of Garner's police contacts. He says anyone willing to report a crime in that precinct was a godsend.
The highest we had was 128 people murdered in 1 year.
That's just murders. Then we have all the people being shot. We had about 500 people being shot a year.
He says he saw 2 murders in a week. Did that raise any skepticism in your mind?
No.
You found that believable?
Yeah, based on the volume of the crime rate, based on the volume of the shootings we had.
So you had no doubt at the time?
No, and neither did the writing district attorney. Either did a grand jury. Either did a jury.
So how could such lies have such strength? Ruben Ortega's lawyer, Steve Wasserman, insists it's because the Dana Garner lies may have been just what the police wanted to hear.
I think it needs to be said that he was a 19-year-old who grew up without a father and was receiving, fatherly kinds of attention from some of the officers at the 75th Precinct. And I think it is important to see here that, at least in part, I think the district attorney and the rest of the legal system was had, to a certain extent, by the collusive arrangement that had developed between this young fellow and these police officers who, in my opinion, were rather unscrupulous people.
The police. I was terrified of them.
Garner claims it was police threats that made him lie in the 2 murder cases. that he would be accused of the crimes if he did not accuse somebody else.
You know, basically I was being fed information that I had no idea of. And hearing the information and seeing pictures and so on of the crime scene and where they was shot at and what they looked at like, what they was wearing, if they was driving, what they was driving, which window the bullets might have came through, which, how it might have happened. They decided the whole picture for me.
Are you or are you not saying they spoon-fed you?
They spoon-fed me through that whole case. In other words, they wanted me, like if you say dog, they wanted me to learn that, just how they wanted me to say it.
And the officer allegedly pulling the strings in the two murder cases? Garner says it was none other than Michael Race. And this time, lawyer Wasserman believes Garner is telling the truth.
It would be impossible for him to have gotten over on the district attorney and the grand jury and the trial jury without some major assistance from Detective Rice.
Pretty serious charge.
He knows my address. If he wants to sue me, he can.
If Mr. Wasserman was sitting here, what would you say to him?
Can I be very frank?
Yes.
It's a goddamn liar.
Well, I'm glad you don't feel strongly
Quote
about
unquote.
it. But if Dana was not present, as we now know he wasn't.
Correct.
But he still knew many of the details of the deaths and how they happened. How could he know that other than somebody with the police furnishing him those details?
You have other people that are on the street. So they may tell Dana Garner, hey, I was hanging out, I was sitting on my porch and I saw this murder happen. Tell me what happened. I saw a car drive by, I saw the shots being fired, I saw the victim with a gun, he ran eastbound. So now you have Dana Garner hearing facts from a witness.
Understand. So it is or is not your contention that once again Dana Garner is lying about this?
Well, obviously he's lying on all three cases. Oh, you mean about the allegations?
Yes.
Unequivocally lying about it.
Today, Jeffrey Blake is a messenger in New York City. Tim Crosby is working construction in Brooklyn.
It was a nightmare, for real.
Ruben Ortega remains in prison.
I got 10 years in. Why did he wait so much time to actually come out and with the truth?
As for Dana Garner, he will not serve even one day behind bars. The statute of limitations for perjury has expired in all three cases.
Do you think that there are other Dana Garners out there?
Yes.
Liars who put innocent men and women in prison?
Yes.
You think there are a lot of them or just a few?
A lot of them.